Welcome, everyone. My name is Fritz Wichern, sales engineer for KMC. Today on our Stuck in a Bucket webinar, I'll be joined by Brad Green and Scott House. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks, Fritz.
This month, we're going to be starting the first of a two-part series on Niagara. I'm going to kind of cover a whole bunch of stuff that you may know, you may not know, a few tips and tricks, and a little overview, hopefully a refresher, and hopefully be able to get some fruitful information out of it that y'all can take and apply in the field. We'll have some time, hopefully, at the end for some question and answers, but as we're going through, always feel free to throw your questions into the chat, and one of us will try and keep an eye on it, and we can follow up with those questions at the end. So, and again, we've got the raffle for a Yeti Cup, or at least I believe it's a Yeti Cup this month. I didn't confirm. Might be a new car, might not be. Might just be that Yeti Cup. So, yeah, just you never know, but you got to stick around to the end to actually get the free prize. So, and I can't congratulate whoever won last month because I am not sure who won last month. So let's roll in. We've got some general Niagara updates. I'm sure most folks have seen the latest releases from Niagara, 4.14. These are 10 update. We've got updates on the Tridium. Niagara is transitioning from Oracle Java to Azul Java. We sent an email out. If you didn't happen to see it, we'll have a link here in the slideshow. And also, if you have any questions on it, you can always hit us up. But that just kind of covers, the platform utilizing that Azul Java runtime environment to shift over from, Java as a primary provider, or as a primary Java provider for the system. So mainly, I think, affects those licenses that started after sometime in July, right, Brad? I think
around there, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty close.
Of course, extended loyalty, Niagara loyalty program, discount off the core for AX upgrades. The extended 5-year SMA for the price of a 1 year. So there's some deals there to get out there and upgrade old Jaces. We've got the Niagara Cloud Suite, which, if you haven't heard, right, is a scalable cloud-based solution that provides secure remote building management services. Provides new integration, connection, deployment capabilities. So some neat features there. I haven't had a chance to mess with any of it. Brad, have you done anything with it yet?
Yeah, we went through the 90-day trial and the 45-day trial, and we've also done some beta participation in their new read-write, which is more API based. But yeah, they're a free trial, and if you get a chance, definitely look into it. It's good stuff.
Perfect. All right, so we'll move on into our next section here. I'm going to talk about our KMC Converged Modules, some things that you may not know or may know. Of course, a big piece here is how it's licensed. We get some questions from time to time of whether folks have the license or don't. You can always go into your license manager, pull up your KMC controls license, and look for that, feature name in there, that KMC Converge, which will give you access to those modules and be able to utilize the different tools within them. Moving up. Let's talk a little bit about how to add and what to add to the Jace, and as well the supervisor station. Many folks, kind of will make an assumption or kind of try and breeze through the installation. But if you haven't done it, there's a handy README text file that's included with the Converge modules when you get in and expand that zip file. And as you can see in the little screenshot here, gives a helpful step-by-step instructions as far as what you're going to copy from the zip file and then where to copy it. And then that'll depend on your brand ID and the folder structure a little bit. But again, those are helpful structures or instructions to get the files in the right places where they need to be. Slightly different variations for adding them to a JACE versus adding them to a supervisor or workbench. So it's just something to be aware of so that you can fully utilize those tools. Anything else there, Brad, you can think of to add?
No, that's good. I'll cover some of it in the demo later just to kind of go over it. Yeah.
Sounds good. And again, we've got a couple optional features to be added in. The block editor, if you're going to use that within the Converge interface. Same, look and feel as you've got there in Connect, but just done through your Workbench. Simplifies things. And then we've also got that name pipe addition that can be added in, and then your tag library. So useful features, don't have to use, but they are handy to have. Moving on, looking at the module signing. It's important to make sure that those modules are signed so that you're getting them and being able to use them, not running into errors. They are code signed. When you do install them on a JACE, you want to make sure and do a full reboot, not just a restart of the station there. So let's see, I think that covers what we got there. Moving on, we'll take a little look at some of the options and what those KMC Converge service can do for you. Same structure as far as building out your application selection. If you've got a new job and you're wanting to kind of build out some of the files and get some of the drawings and the bill of material put together, the application selection is a great way to go through, name and specify what setup and condition you have for your air handlers, VAV box, chill water plants, whatever it may be for those common programs that are in the application library. All those can be sorted through there and then saved into a separate job, just in the same fashion as you would if you were building it in Connect or Total Control. Next slide here, then, of course, is the deployment portion of it. Same features, right? We've got all the files that you went through and added in your application selection in your job file here. And this is my little sandbox tool here, or job that I set up. So I've got all the pre-configured applications. Now I can see all my live BACnet devices that I could apply those to. And then from there, you can go through and do the deployment process and save you time. Easy, quick way to be able to get on the job and get the equipment running. Next steps, we've got the device auditing tool. It's a great way to be able to do, once you're done setting up the job and ready to leave, you can do an audit, fingerprint a device, so you can verify all the settings, whether it's your cooling set points, airflow set points, all that can be documented in there so that if you come back out to a job and a customer's complaining that, something's not working right, something doesn't look right, you can do an evaluation and compare what the values were when you originally set the job up versus what they are now. And you can see that maybe they went in and and blew out all the minimum cooling airflow set points, or jacked around with the max airflow set points, and that's why that fan power box isn't controlling the way it should. So through those auditing and fingerprinting tools there, right, we can either revert to the original settings, or if it is a valid change, it can be saved into that fingerprint of the controller and used for future purposes. So again, just some great tools that have been built by KMC through the Connect, and total control options, but they're available through Niagara. So all done within Workbench. Super handy. And moving on, we've got what's new in KMC Converge, some of the code editor improvements. Brad, do you want to talk to this one a little bit? I didn't grab a screenshot really or anything, but
I'll show a little bit more in the demo later, but we've made some changes to the code editor and given you some flexibility to change, colors and fonts and styles within the code editor, so it makes it a little bit easier. We've also added line numbers where we can, to show the line number of the code. So before, when you'd compile and you'd have an error on line number, it was a struggle to try to find it. So we've added that into the view as well inside of Niagara.
Nice. Sounds good. Again, this kind of ties in a little bit with the licensing that we mentioned before, but if you didn't know, there is a KMC information service under your services in your either SoftJ supervisor, where you can open it up and it'll show you what you're licensed for, or like in my case, not licensed for KMD translator, but it gives you a good idea of what you have installed and where you're at with things if you're questioning. So that's just located under your services down near where your KMC Converge service is. Useful tools there. Moving on, we've got router views. If you're using our wonderful 5051 AE routers, backnet routers on your job sites, the awesome tools and interfaces that you've got through the web browser are available through Niagara to view. Again, just kind of trying to make it simple and easy to access information, just from Workbench, and save you a step of maybe having to switch screens. So little view here, some screenshots of obviously device status, green showing what all devices are talking, and where your router address is. You can grab your metrics. Great way for diagnosing comm problems, and of course the option to grab a Wireshark capture there directly from within that router interface through Niagara. So next we're going to move into some general Workbench stuff you may not know. Different ways of shortcuts. I think some of this ties into I think what you'll be showing us in the next one. One piece, if you don't know, we've got the Workplace Launcher, which is a great way to, if you have multiple flavors of Workbench that you're switching back and forth between. Workplace Launcher, similar to AX Switcher we used to use back in the day, just giving you the ability to see your different versions. If you're running service calls, you may have JACEs that are on different versions. So using one of these tools is a great way to save some time and be able just to run through your different tools. Let's see, console versus no console. Different options there, workplace launchers. I didn't have anything on the active listener. Is that something you're going to look at in your demo, Brad?
Yep, I'll be happy to show that later.
Okay.
Yeah, really just kind of the different ways to launch, Workbench, and I'll go through kind of the active listeners and kind of just like how to launch in console mode and kind of a benefit there. But really just to cover it now is like the console, when you launch in that, there's an easy way to escape if the application does hang up by just control Cing from the console,
Right.
and kind of helps out. Also, it gives you some debug for the Workbench VM itself. So sometimes that is helpful, so you can look back to see if it's hanging up on something.
Perfect. All right. Then we've just got a couple slides here with some general information on it, but I'm thinking you want to go ahead and jump into your demo, Brian. And
Yeah,
we'll move through that, and then we can come back to the slideshow.
Yep.
After that, if that sounds good.
I can do that.
Let's see.
Let me know when you can see my screen, and then I'll
All right.
get started.
I've got your Workbench view.
Awesome. All right. Find my notes. So, first thing that I want to kind of reiterate is where Fritz was talking about to find your license. So probably already know, but license manager. You're going to view your license for the KMC controls license here, and click view. You're going to be looking for that KMC Converge feature when you're wanting to license, Converge there. And in order for it to operate properly, you do need the KMC control certificate. So sometimes that gets missed, especially if you do it manually by adding that license in. So if you're having an issue, you might want to check that certificate as well. The service that Fritz mentioned here, underneath services, I have it added here, the KMC information service. It's going to be in the modules palette of KMC BACnet. So when you open up your modules palette for KMC BACnet, just drag and drop that information service into the services of the JACE. And when you view that service, it's going to tell you what you have installed. And you notice there's multiple columns, for the JACE and then also for the client for Workbench. So it's going to compare. If there's a difference between those two, it's going to highlight it for you. So you can see in this JACE here that I have, it has a different version of modules than my Workbench client does. So sometimes that can cause problems with rendering or operation. You might think, I have the latest modules on my machine for Converge, but something's not working the way it should, or if you pull up or just drop in this service and open up this view, it just kind of tell you quickly. You can always get that information from the software manager, by viewing that here as well, and comparing. But sometimes you might not catch if there's a difference. And so highlighting it just a little bit easier to find. Another thing that Fritz mentioned that I want to reiterate is this question mark. When you transfer modules into a JACE, it does require a reboot for those signatures to be signed. And inside the Niagara help, there's some qualifications. If you search signature unknown in the help file, and you'll see like this unknown signature, and it talks about why that is, and it has to do with the signing certificate of that module. So if you update a module, restarts, it doesn't know that certificate, it can't check its validity. So you need to actually do a physical reboot, reboot the platform before it'll actually detect that. Now that will cause some problems in operation if you're seeing that. So if you're seeing something kind of bizarre, go to your software manager, check to make sure that you don't see any question marks there, and then go ahead and reboot and just go through that process just real quick, just to show you where that's located. It is the reboot button here on the application director, not the restart. You actually have to do the actual reboot button. The other thing that he mentioned was about the support files. And when you install our software, I have a couple installed here, but if you go into the installation, we have this KMC support files folder that's going to be in part of every Niagara release. if you go into here, this is where you're going to find that README file and tags library and all the stuff you need to transfer. So you just read that README file, and it's gonna explain, where to put your files in the different things. So if it's a JACE, and what to transfer on your laptop or PC. And then also, if it's a station, if you're running a station locally, you need to put it a knowledge base file inside of your program data. So like here, C program data, Niagara 414, KMC controls shared. I have this knowledge base file. It's also in my user home as well. I need it in both locations on the machine in order for it to work properly. Let's see, we covered most of that. So how to launch. So we'll go to see what's running first. How about that? So if you need to check to see what daemon you're running, the workplace launcher that Fritz was showing is a good option. But if you go to type in services.msc or just go to Windows search and find services, it's going to bring up your services panel. And in this list, if you filter down to Niagara and just look at this, it's going to tell you what daemon you have running under the path to executable. So this is really helpful if you're running into situations, because if you launch 413 right now, you're going to be able to open the platform, you're going to be able to open a station that's running, and it's just not going to, it might be some bizarre happenings going on. So you just want to check to make sure you have the right daemon running, as you're running a station locally. You don't need a daemon running to connect to a station remotely, but if you're running something locally and you're seeing something happening that shouldn't be, go to the services and check that daemon. And then the workplace launcher does a good job for quickly finding your shortcuts. I don't like to have a lot of shortcuts on my desktop if at all possible. I launch a lot from command line. So I'm just going to show you that process because I really like it. So if you go into command line, you go into your KMC folder, and now that I'm there, I can just hit tab and it's going to cycle through all the different installations that I have. So I'm going to go to 414, then I can go to my bin folder, and then inside my bin folder, I can just type in console, and it's going to go and launch the console for me to actually show the Workbench console. And I launch right from here by just typing WB for Workbench. The nice thing about that is when you launch that, it's going to give you a debug of everything that's happening during the launch. So sometimes if you launch Workbench, it will fail and it'll actually have some outputs here. A lot of times it's just modules not signed or, something, a type that's not qualified. We run into that a lot with development releases. But it's helpful to have and launch from there. And we started to get into some of the tips and tricks, and Fritz is we'll bounce back over to him for the slideshow here in a minute. But a couple of the things that I wanted to show. I skipped one for you, which was the code editor. So I'll go to device, show you the kind of the updates there. A couple of the things. So in the previous release of Converge, what we added was underneath this KMC object configuration node, you'd always been able to expand it, but you were never able to expand the input objects. So now you can expand the input objects and click on an individual item to go ahead and make changes there. Before, you had to look at the group view to make changes, select one, and then click edit to make a change. So it's a little bit faster now, easier to work with, but you can actually expand those out. And for the program objects ones, if I go look at set points and modes, so we can see all the data there, and notice now it's colored. We have the line numbers over on the left. So if you're highlighting, this is partitioned off, so you're not going to select those line numbers. especially in the Conquest controllers. There are in some legacy backnet devices, the line number is actually part of the code. It's not like part of the side here. So you'll be careful about deleting that kind of on the legacy backnet devices. But if you're not happy with the coloring and fonts in Connect and Total Control, we give the ability to change it. So we added that as well to Workbench. So if you go to Tools, Options, and go to KMC Settings, and then underneath there, you can go to the color coding, and you can go ahead and make changes in there for all those different, identifiers and stuff and keywords to, change that look and feel if you're not happy with it. Let's see. Another thing we're going to show you is some multi-linking. This is pretty helpful if you got to link a bunch of things. So you grab the out slot and you need to link it to all these. If you hold down the shift button while you're doing that link and just let it go, click on each one individually. It's a good way to multi-link. You can also, link mark this source and then group select your targets and do link mark from your source. So out to, let's do N5. So that'll make a link too by group selecting. So you can do that in the wire sheet. There's also in the nav tree, which if you're not using sync tree now, it's a huge time saving. So I can right click and sync the tree. There's also a button here to sync the tree. And they've also added the button in 4.14 in the web browser as well. So if you click that sync tree, it moved my tree and highlighted my playground folder here. So now I know where I am. So now I can link mark this source to, group select my targets, link mark from the out. Let's go to N13 this time. And you can make those links that way too. Just, obviously be careful when you're linking across wire sheets that you can't see, don't want to link the wrong thing. So.
Yep.
And one more thing, and then I'll turn it back over to Fritz. I did want to show some, if you have multiple rooftop units, air handlers, VAV boxes, and you want to make a change. So underneath this RTU1, I got a Boolean writable here, and I want to make changes to this. Let's say it's the facets of this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my I'm going to select sandbox and do a find here. And I can call this Boolean writable. Called Boolean writable 1. Component. Type it right. Oh, I got an E in there. Oh. Do it again. There we go.
There they are.
So now, yeah. And when you do that find, you can easily navigate between them by just clicking in here. So if you can create a find to go change a bunch of them, what you'll be able to do is go through these individually, and this find dialog will stay on top, so that it kind of creates like a quick navigation, if you will, so you can bounce between things and like change facets really easily. So do some research on the find, give it a shot. It's definitely helpful and time saving once you get to use it. That also in the recent ords, which is up here, you can hit it by Alt and Space too, will be the shortcut keys to launch that recent ords. You can also get to it through File, recent ords here. And that's just where you've been in Workbench, so you can quickly go back to things. Also, if you have common profile types, so if I'm in this Boolean writable 1, if I hit Control and L or do my open ord, then I can go quickly. I can just edit this manually, so I know I want to go to number 2. Oh, it's called 2 here, so I guess it would work if you had the same name. But there we go. So
Right.
you can manually edit those orgs and jump between things, which is kind of helpful, especially if you have VB boxes, you want to change the set point on all of them. And but I'll turn it back over to you, Fritz, and then if I need to jump back on and do some more demo
Well,
for some questions, be happy to.
while you're there,
Yeah.
which we're about at time, so but while you're there, I think folks may have noticed the tease of a dusk theme to Workbench that Brad and his team have been working hard to develop. So that'll be something releasing soon for all of you proud owners of a KMC branded Workbench as an available option if you like dark mode in your different software tools. That's something to look forward to.
Yeah, we plan on that'll be released within the next 4.14 and 4.10 U9 updates that are coming along shortly.
Perfect. But yeah, so we're right at time. I haven't seen any questions come in, but I think what we'll do is, since we're doing a two-part series, some of the stuff, the little tips that we didn't cover this time, we'll roll those into the next one, and go from there. At least I haven't seen any questions come in the chat. I don't know if y'all have, but
nope, there's been nothing.
Right. So I appreciate everyone jumping on. Again, just a reminder, all of the, Stuck on a Buckets, as well as the other podcasts that Tim Vogel is doing and a lot of the other great stuff the KMC has going, all posted out on the YouTube channel, the KMC Controls, as well as a whole lot of good training videos if you're ever looking for information or answers. A good place to go. Again, I'm always interested to hear from everyone if there's something you want covered or a question about even as random as, needing help with, a chill water reset program or whatever it may be. Doesn't necessarily have to be directly controls related. It could be related to a sequence. Just send an idea in and we'll be happy to cover it and talk about it, because I guarantee there's probably more folks out there that have similar questions. So, we'd love to cover them and cover how to approach it and tackle it, using the KMC tools that you have. Our next webinar will be right before Thanksgiving, Friday, November 22nd. So keep an eye out for that invitation. And I think that'll do it. Brad, Scott, y'all have anything else before we sign off here?
All set. Thanks, everybody.
Perfect. All righty. Well, thanks for everyone jumping on, and we will talk to you next month.